Chapter 11 The various patriarchs of Konoha. Ryu Fujikai's teasing gaze finally made Uzumaki Kushina instantly turn into a fiery hot pepper, and a heavy punch hit Ryu Fujikai's head. "You bastard, what nonsense!" However, perhaps Ryu Fujikai had to be careful with this trick before today. After being strengthened by the dragon blood medicine bath today, Ryu Fujikai grabbed the opponent's fist with sharp eyes. Under Uzumaki Kushina's shocked gaze, he easily withstood the opponent's attack and held the opponent's little hand firmly. Even under the admiring gaze of the male students in the class, he continued recklessly. "Uzumaki Kushina, I, Ryu Fujikai, would like to call you the strongest in terms of beauty. Since you want to become the head wife of my Ryuto family, let's work hard towards the goal of female Hokage." Such shameless words that would inevitably be scolded as pukinan, but at the moment, Uzumaki Kushina was so angry that his teeth were itchy, and at the same time, there was no way to refute it. In the end, the teacher gave a dry cough and separated Ryu Fujikai. Finally it was Uzumaki's turn to introduce himself. The Uzumaki girls who have never been seen in this plot, self-introduction is much more normal than Ryu Fujikai and the others. "My name is Uzumaki Liduzi. I am very happy to study with you in the future. I like flower arrangement, cooking, and fish farming. Please give me your advice in the future." After the three of them introduced themselves, the teacher of Class 3 looked at the seats in the class, and was about to say something, but saw Ryu Fujikai, who was already beside Kushina's exclamation, pulled each other and leaned towards the back row of the classroom. Window position. That is to go to the hometown of the king. Teacher, classmate Kushina and I should sit there. Ah, Ryu Fujikai. Who wants to sit with you? Let me go. However, no matter how hard Chili Pepper struggled, at this moment, under the strong invitation of Ryu Fujikai, he could only be pushed in the back row in the end. As for Uzumaki Liduzi, the plot god tier directly opened up his skills, and was directly arranged next to the little son Namikaze Minato. Namikaze Minato was about to say something after seeing Uzumaki Kushina and hearing that the other party was also going to become Hokage, but at the moment he was disrupted by a series of actions by Ryu Fujikai, but he sat in his seat the whole time without saying a word. However, when Uzumaki Iduzi, who was full of Yamato Nadeko style at a young age, sat beside him and greeted him quietly, the little son Namikaze Minato immediately forgot Kushina, who had a bad personality. Uzumaki Kushina was pulled by Ryu Fujikai to sit at the back at the moment, and she wanted to leave several times but was pulled by Ryu Fujikai, who didn't give her a chance at all. Looking at the smirk on the corner of Ryu Fujikai's mouth, and the eyes of some girls in the surrounding classes who obviously have some interest in Ryu Fujikai. As bold as Kushina, he was also at a loss. In the end, he could only lower his head and dare not face the eyes of the people around him with his red face. At the same time, a voice containing embarrassment entered Ryu Fujikai's ears. I would never like a bastard like you. How bad." However, that tone of voice really made it impossible to find the slightest disgust. It seemed to be acting like a baby. Ryu Fujikai was overjoyed. Even though he became a pukin boy once, he succeeded in taking the first step in the heart of the beautiful woman Kushina, which is not a loss. Facing Kushina's soft protest, Ryu Fujikai smiled lightly. "Really? But I'm already interested in you. Hokage-sama." Kushina's face was so low that it almost touched the table, and she was already screaming in her heart. "Bad guy." The three officially entered the class, and soon Ryu Fujikai finally saw the courses of the ninja school. For example, The first class they attended now was the teaching course of trap setting, which is compulsory for ninjas. Ulysses listened very seriously, and it was necessary to learn some ninja techniques. After all, things like traps also play a big role in monster hunting world. However, the serious Ryu Fujikrai also found some relatively familiar figures in the class. Unlike Ryu Fujikrai and Namikaze Minato who listen carefully, these people obviously lack interest in the current course, and some even have some disdain on their faces. Abaram Jiwa, Akamichi Dingza, Narashiju, Yamanaka Hayachi. Ryu Fujikrai thought, these are the patriarchs of the major ninja clans in Konoha in the future. Ryu Fujikrai knew it well. It seemed that he was drawn by Hokage. However, I was attracted to Konoha not long after I came to Konoha. It seems that the identity of the samurai family and the fact that the family joined Konoha really made Sarutobi Hiruzen feel very relieved about himself. Perhaps feeling the gaze of Ryu Fujikrai, a few students from the Konoha Shinobi tribe came over just after class. Nara always said troublesome words on weekdays, but at this moment she was the first one to extend her hand friendly to Ryu Fujikrai and introduce herself. "Hello Ryu Fujikrai, I'm Nara Shikahisa." As he spoke, he pointed to the two people with the best relationship beside him and said, "This is Dingzuo from the Akamichi family. He likes to eat. I think you can tell. He is Hai from the Yamanaka family. Don't mind if he doesn't talk much. I've heard about you, but I didn't expect you to be as old as us, and already shoulder the responsibility of a family head." At the end of Lu Jiu's speech, he expressed his sincere admiration. Hearing this, several ninja students who came up also nodded one after another. Even Ryu Fujikrai didn't expect that he is so famous in Konoha now. Although he knew that Hokage placed himself in this class with some intentions, Ryu Fujikrai didn't care, and immediately seized the opportunity to build a good relationship with these people. In order for the Longteng family to become an important family in Konoha and to gain a certain amount of power, the first thing to do is to truly let the family take root in Konoha. Hey, this is also a helpless act. My father was buried in the attack of the enemy country. As the only heir, I naturally cannot slack off at this time. Fortunately, Master Hokage sent Anbu to escort us all the way, and took care of us a lot. Ryu Fujikrai speaks beautiful words. However, at this moment, she didn't notice it at all. At this moment, Kushina beside her raised her head at some point. Through the gap between the red hair, a pair of eyes looked at Ryu Fujikrai blankly. Only now did she notice that Ryu Fujikrai seemed to have said when he introduced himself just now that he was already the head of a family. And, like him, an outsider who joined Konoha recently. For a moment, looking at Ryu Fujikrai who was chatting with these ninja classmates with a bright smile at the moment, a flame rose in Kushina's heart. The heart that has been haunted by loneliness and fear seems to have settled down. Yes, at least I still have Granny Mito and someone to protect me. What about Ryu Fujikrai? He is obviously as old as himself. Not only does he have nothing to rely on now, but he also has to become the support of a family. However, he is still full of fighting spirit and firmly believes in his future. Chapter 12 Mito's attention, lead the team to the dungeon. Senju Land, night. When Kushina and Lee Dozy returned to the clan area one after the other, Kushina was humming happily, and was immediately discovered by Uzumaki Mito, Nine-Tails Jinchuriki of Konoha village. Although he was old, he smiled on his kind face. "Ah, it seems that the experience of the ninja school is very good. Kushina must have met some very good friends. When Uzumaki Leaduzi saw Uzumaki Maito, he immediately saluted Uzumaki Maito in an orderly manner. On the other hand, when Kushina was told by Uzumaki Maito, "Today Ryu Fujikrai took her little hand and firmly regarded her as his deskmate, and Ryu Fujikrai's decisive straight ball, you are beautiful, I am interested in you." All kinds of behaviors made Kushina couldn't help but twitch. At this moment, he ran into Uzumaki Maito's arms, shaking his head coquettishly. "No way, he is obviously a very annoying person." Uzumaki Maito hugged Kushina with a smile, lovingly caressing Kushina's head, while looking at Uzumaki Leaduzi at the side. "Li Daojiang, how about you? Are you having a good time at the ninja school today? No one bullies you with your personality, right?" Li Daozi shook his head and whispered, "Minato-kun is very good, very gentle." As soon as the words came out, Kushina, who was still in Uzumaki Maito's arms, suddenly seemed to hear some Super 8 trigrams, with a hot light in his eyes, and grabbed Li Daozi. "Ha ha ha, Li Daozi, are you really interested in that blonde-haired bitch? I've already found out that you never took your eyes off him when get out of class was over, meh." Li Daozi immediately blushed and covered Kushina's big mouth. But seeing the eyes of Uzumaki Maito, who covered his mouth with a chuckle, his whole person was not good. Looking at Kushina, who was still gloating while covering her mouth, an inexplicable impulse suddenly occupied Li Daozi's brain. Under Kushina's stunned gaze, he directly reported to Uzumaki Maito loudly. Kushina, she is still holding hands with a boy today. She even confessed her love to him." As soon as this remark came out, Uzumaki Maito, who originally thought it was a joke between the two, looked at Uzumaki Kushina in surprise. In this way, the smile on Kushina's face when he came back just now. It's clear that he has the appearance of a boy he likes. Uzumaki Maito's probing gaze finally made the little girl Uzumaki Kushina unable to hold on. She pulled Uzumaki Leaduzi, who wanted to break the news in embarrassment, and ran towards the room. The sound of panic came to the ears of Uzumaki Maito in the courtyard from afar. "Grandma Maito, we have homework to do, don't listen to Li Daozi's nonsense, she was just joking." Uzumaki Maito smiled as she watched the two girls from her mother clan disappear out of sight. However, he had already written this matter down in his heart, and decided to have someone look it up. Who was the hedgehog girl? Kushina, the boy who put down his guard in just one day. When Kushina returned to the Senju tribe, she was in a good mood. And Ryu Fujikrai, who has successfully left a mark in Kushina's heart, is naturally in a good mood. Even though Konoha village suffered a lot of losses in the land of rain, and many families in the village have received news of the death of family members on the front line these days, it did not affect Ryu Fujikrai's happy mood at the moment. Back at the family, Ryuto Yuta had already been waiting here, looking at the other party's appearance. It seemed that he had been waiting for a long time. Ryu Fujikrai patted his forehead, and then he remembered that after being called to the Hokage office today, he went directly to the ninja school to enroll. The family didn't know about these things from the beginning to the end. Sure enough, seeing Ryu Fujikrai coming back, Ryuto Yuta rushed up. "Patriarch, you are finally back. What did Hokage ask you to do all day? It took so long. Did he make things difficult for you? If it really doesn't work, shall we leave Konoha?" Listening to Yuta's cannonball-like questions, at the end, Ryu Fujikrai immediately put away the smile on his face and scolded. "Enough. What should I say, what should not be said, do you want me to tell you again?" Regardless of Ryu Fujikrai's young age, the aura of the patriarch in his body is not weak at all. Immediately, Ryuto Yuta knelt in front of him to plead guilty. and also knew of his slip of the tongue. Ryu Fujikrai snorted coldly and led the other party into the family's temporary residence without saying anything. Without Ryu Fujikrai's instructions, the owner's dinner was brought over from the kitchen immediately. When Ryu Fujikrai was eating, Ryuto Yuta knelt and sat beside him nervously the whole time. Fortunately, in the end Ryu Fujikrai didn't blame him. Wiping his mouth, a samurai immediately took the plate down. Seeing the samurai leaving with a plate, Ryu Fujikrai realized a problem. The patriarch of his dignified Ryuto family didn't even have a maid to serve him. Those people whose family was in the country of Iron before were dismissed for the convenience of relocation. Secretly remembering this matter in his heart, Ryu Fujikrai glanced at Ryuto Yuta with a disturbed expression, and waved his hand. "Are the people you arranged ready?" Hearing this, Ryuto Yuta immediately showed joy on his face, and bowed to salute. Everyone stays outside, counting the subordinates, a total of 7 people. For a while, 4 people will stay around the patriarch's residence to guard, and I and the other 2 family warriors will follow the patriarch to the summoning realm. When speaking, Ryuto Yuta's voice was trembling with excitement. He couldn't help but be excited. Being able to be brought into the summoning world full of dragons by Ryu Fujikrai is definitely Ryu Fujikrai's greatest affirmation to them. At the same time, think of what the herbivorous dragon got and the changes it brought to them. Become an existence beyond the ninja, the road is at hand. Ryu Fujikrai looked at the sky, and without delay, he asked Ryuto Yuta to call the other 2 in. Both of these 2 were orphans adopted by the Longteng family back then. They were brought up since childhood and were not given surnames or even names. One is codenamed 13, and the other is codenamed number 8. In front of the 2 young samurai, Ryu Fujikrai took out the summoning scroll and unfolded it in front of each other. From today onwards, you will officially get in touch with the core secrets of my Longteng family. As long as you work hard enough, it is not impossible to become a warrior beyond Jnin, even a warrior beyond Kid level. And the premise of all this is loyalty. Absolute loyalty. Chapter 13 Re-entering the ancient tree forest. Natural energy. When Ryuto Yuta and the 3 of them cut their fingers and wrote their names with blood on the summoning scroll that Ryu Fujikrai took out, the 3 of them immediately felt a vague and special world. The world is huge, and appears to be covered in massive forests along the sea. However, when a few people instinctively wanted to go there, they found that they couldn't do it at all. Even the reverse summoning technique seen on the summoning scroll didn't seem to work. As if blocked by something. After seeing Ryu Fujikrai's half-smile expression, the 3 of them suddenly realized something. The 3 immediately knelt in front of Ryu Fujikrai and shouted loudly. "The subordinate is guilty." As they said that, cold sweat was already oozing from the foreheads of the 3 of them, and they all thought that their impulsive recklessness just now had made Ryu Fujikrai lower their status in his heart. Thinking that there were 4 warriors outside the door who could replace them at any time and who were equally loyal to the patriarch, the heads of the 3 of them were even lower. Ryu Fujikrai looked at these people coldly for a long time, and finally felt that the fire was almost ready, so he uttered a sentence coldly. "I am in a good mood today. You are lucky. If there is a next time, I will send you in." Ryu Fujikrai said indifferently, but the last words were all understood by the 3 people present, and there was still the second half of the sentence. "Send them in, don't let them out." Thinking of the strangeness of that world in their own perception, all 3 of them bowed down and apologized again. Subordinates will never commit another crime. Ryu Fujikrai didn't say anything anymore. The 3 people in front of him, including the 4 guards outside the door, had all been poisoned by the dragon vine family, so there was no need to worry about their rebellion. He waved his hand to let everyone pack their things. This time, Ryu Fujikai's purpose in entering the ancient tree forest is very clear. Apart from hunting a few herbivorous dragons, that is to collect some ancient tree forest herbs and collect some small creatures. Bringing it back to the clan and letting the people in the clan's related majors study it, is there any development value? Of course, Ryu Fujikai has another purpose. He wanted to try to see if he could tame a monster from the ancient tree forest. It didn't require any large monsters like bosses, as long as they were slightly larger and capable of attacking. Just after everyone prepared things such as animal traps, bags, and paralyzing poison, Ryu Fujikai made a mudra in his hand and let out a low drink. Reverse summoning technique. With a bang, the smoke exploded in the room, and when the smoke cleared, Ryu Fujikai and the others had disappeared into the room. Ancient tree forest. After personally experiencing the method of reverse summoning technique and coming to the ancient tree forest, the 3 of Ryuto Yuta bowed down immediately and drew their swords to be vigilant, just like Ryu Fujikai did back then. Ryu Fujikai looked at the familiar environment around him, and felt relieved a lot. Sure enough, it was still the same place I just came to last time. Patriarch, there seems to be a different kind of energy in the air here, which makes my body feel much more comfortable. Ryuto Yuta whispered in Ryu Fujikai's ear. Ryu Fujikai, who was rushing towards the stream at the beginning, was moved. He didn't pay attention to it last time. This time, under the reminder of Ryuto Yuta, Ryu Fujikai also found out. Indeed, after entering the ancient tree forest, Ryu Fujikai felt that with every breath in his body, the chakra in his body seemed to be a lot more active. It seemed to be catalyzed by the air that was breathed in. Suddenly, Ryu Fujikai thought of a possibility. The 3 summoning holy places owned by Konoha-san in themselves seem to have this kind of saying. According to the Hokage world, existences like 10,000 snakes and toad bosses can be born in the summoning world because the summoning world has a strong natural environment. Energy. And Ryu Fujikai thought of the large monsters in the ancient tree forest he owned, and couldn't help but think in his heart. Could it be that the energy contained in the air in my summoning world is also natural energy? However, Ryu Fujikai has no way to confirm that the existence of natural energy is a high-end existence in the ninja system. We can only see if there is a chance to ask after Konoha-san returns. Clatter. The familiar sound of running water came, and soon as Ryu Fujikai was thinking about it, the 4 of them had arrived at the place where Ryu Fujikai hunted small herbivorous dragons. Across the bushes, Ryu Fujikai immediately noticed the traces of the last battle. It really is the real world, the traces of last time are still there, but it is very inconspicuous. But behind Ryu Fujikai, Ryuto Yuta and the other 3 were looking at the creek at the moment. Each of them was huge, and they couldn't help swallowing their saliva with fiery eyes. Herbivore. Looking around, there were 3 herbivorous dragons they were familiar with. And they are all large, with an average height of 4 meters. These guys are so big, more than twice the size of the herbivorous dragon we had before. Ryuto Yuta looked at Ryu Fujikai expectantly, looking eager to try. Ryu Fujikai didn't waste time either. The purpose of bringing them in was to make himself more relaxed and at the same time hunt more herbivorous dragons back. Nodding, the 3 Longten Yuta who immediately received the order silently leaned on the bushes, and carefully touched the 3 big guys. Under the watchful eyes of Ryu Fujikai, the 3 of Ryuto Yuta set their sights on one as the target, and they were directly preparing to keep all three big guys. Do it! A low shout came, and in an instant, three black shadows came to the front of the three herbivorous dragons in the blink of an eye. The speed was too fast, and at the same time as they leaped high, the three sharp long knives in their hands pierced fiercely into the neck of the herbivorous dragon from their hands. Be quick! It seems to have learned from the knife marks on the baby herbivorous dragon that Ryu Fujikrai brought back last time. Chapter 14 Crestosaurus. The first summoning beast. In Konoha's office, clouds and mist lingered. The two Hokage advisors, Utatane Koharu and Mitokado Homura, talked dryly. However, Sarutabi Hiruzen, who was sitting in the Hokage position, had no other reaction except smoking a cigarette. Hiruzen. Are you listening to us? That brat from the samurai family is definitely not a good guy. He has only been here for a month, and now he has hooked up with the future Jinchuriki of Nine Tails, Utatane Koharu flushed with anger. However, Sarutabi Hiruzen asked Hatake Sakumo as if he couldn't hear him. Tsunade, have they reached the front? The latter nodded immediately. I have received news from the front line of the Kingdom of Rain. Master Tsunade has taken over the command of the front line. I think he will be able to reverse the situation soon. However, they also urged us, saying that after inspection, they found that the front line is in short supply. Especially weapons and medicines. Sarutabi Hiruzen nodded, then looked at the two consultants, and said in a neutral tone. Since you are sitting in the position of consultant, don't be idle all day worrying about things that have nothing to do with you. You can raise supplies for the front line. As soon as these words came out, the faces of Utatane Koharu and the two became even uglier. However, looking at Sarutabi Hiruzen's slowly raised eyes, he finally didn't dare to talk too much nonsense, and left in despair. After the two left, Sarutabi Hiruzen asked Hatake here. Did anything happen to the Longteng family recently? Hatake Sakumo shook his head. They are still busy building the clan land. It seems that they want to build their clan land to the level of Konoha's first family, and they don't have any other actions. Sarutabi Hiruzen nodded and waved Hatake to leave. At the same time, I couldn't help but blame my old buddies. Gradually, I don't know what the will of the fire is, and I just think about those little dogs all day long, so I can't get on the stage. That's why the teacher chose me to be Hokage back then. Bang bang bang. Ryu Fujikrai's temporary settlement, outside the courtyard of Ryu Fujikrai's residence. Along with several white smokes appearing in the sheds set up outside the small courtyard of Ryu Fujikrai, huge monsters that have lost their movement, but their bodies are still warm, appeared in the eyes of several samurai. Ryuto Yuta had a look of excitement on his face. This time the three big guys, if they were still warriors like them, it would be no problem to say at least half a month. Several other people also looked excited, but in order to ensure the secrecy of their actions at night, even in the corner of the dead forest, everyone kept calm and quiet. Follow the steps of the division of labor, and start to quickly dismember the corpses of these herbivore dragons. This side was handed over to the outside samurai, and the three of Ryuto Yuta immediately reversed summoning and entered the ancient tree forest again. They couldn't help being in a hurry. When they solved the three herbivorous dragons on their side, Ryu Fujikrai found several different monsters. The same can only be attributed to small monsters, which are a little smaller than adult herbivorous dragons, but they are much more aggressive monsters. Crown Tyrannosaurus. A group of monsters, just like the opponent's name. The main attack method is to charge with an extremely hard head. At present, Lake I is definitely the current strength, the existence most likely to reach a contract. In order to ensure the safety of the action, Ryu Fujikrai asked Ryuto Yuta and the other three to send the prey back outside first, while he squatted here to guard. There are 5 crown dragons in total. 2 of them are adults, 1 male and 1 female, and the remaining 3 are juveniles. But even the baby dragon itself is 2 Ryu Fujikrai tall. Although our summoning scrolls can enforce contracts, killing any of them will definitely be detrimental to the contract. So we need to capture them all. Ryu Fujikrai said, and the 3 people beside him nodded. Even though doing so was full of danger, the 3 of them did not hesitate to start the arrest operation under Ryu Fujikrai's order. Wow! Ryuto Yuta rushed out first, holding one end of a large net with one hand, and number 8 on the other. As soon as the 2 of them appeared, under the blessing of Chakra, they quickly caught these crown dragons with a big net. Oh! Faced with the sudden change, the Guanchalong family immediately launched a resistance, and the large net that had been blessed with steel wires suddenly became precarious at this moment. The expressions of the 2 changed, and they shouted hastily. Quickly cast poison. Shhhhhhh. There were several sounds of piercing through the air, and then 4 or 5 unknown projectiles were slammed on the bodies of several crested dragons. The projectiles exploded, and bursts of thick purple smoke immediately filled the air. Under the nervous gaze of Ryu Fujikrai and others, several Coronotyrannosauruses struggled harder and were about to break free from the big net. Longteng Yuta was even about to kill it, but saw a young Crestosaurus finally staggered and fell to the ground. This seemed to be a signal, and soon the other 2 young dragons fell to the ground one after another. It was the 2 adult Crestosaurus, and in the end Ryu Fujikrai couldn't bear it, and smashed the last 2 paralyzing poisonous smoke bombs in his hand. A roar full of unwillingness came, and soon the 2 big guys were finally knocked to the ground. After a few seconds of brief silence, even Ryu Fujikrai couldn't help but let out a shout of excitement. Quick! Put their blood contracts on the summoning scroll. Chapter 15. The clan land is built, and an alliance relationship is established with the various clans of Konoha. By the time Ryu Fujikrai and the others returned from the ancient tree forest to the Hokage world, it was already 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. However, both Ryu Fujikrai and Yuta were all excited. Master Patriarch, we have already dealt with all the things, sealed them separately as before, and put them in the cellar to freeze them. Ryu Fujikrai nodded in satisfaction, looked at Yuta and the others who had big bags and small bags at the moment, and gave orders directly. Keep all these collected things well. These things will be related to the future family's industry in Konoha in the future. Be careful to keep them secret. Yuta and the others nodded solemnly with excited expressions. Recalling their experience of entering the ancient tree forest today, it is full of magic until now. But thinking that he and others will be able to pass the summoning technique in the future, the faces of the few crown dragons captured by summoning just now turned red with excitement. The achievement of capturing small monsters already seemed to let them see the future. Ryu Fujikrai said that large monsters such as fire dragons existed in the ancient tree forest. In addition to hunting 3 adult herbivorous dragons and capturing 5 crested dragons this time, they also conducted simple explorations in the surrounding area. Gathered some herbs and fruits from Ryu Fujikrai's mouth. These things seemed to be very ordinary. But they tasted the honey collected in the ancient tree forest, but they immediately put away their contempt for these little things. The apparently ordinary honey has the effect of eliminating dark wounds. Just this point, let Longteng Yuta and the others see the great prosperity of the Longteng family in the future. The few people who had already decided to die for the Longteng family not only put themselves on the Longteng family's ship, but also decided to tie their future descendants to the Longteng family's warship. As a samurai family that has been passed down for hundreds of years, the Longteng family has lost a lot of influence due to the decline of samurai, but there is no shortage of related inheritance. Although the Longteng family is not a medical family, they have their own secret recipes in medicine, especially healing medicine, antidote and medicinal bath. Give the Yakushi of the family some time to turn the things collected in the ancient tree forest into the future family capital, which is not difficult in itself. Seeing the enthusiastic expressions of Yuta and the others, Ryu Fujikai thought for a while before saying, "In addition to speeding up your own improvement and training these days, you should also pay attention to other trustworthy warriors in the family, and expand the team as soon as possible." As soon as these words came out, Yuta and the others all showed expressions of surprise. "Patriarch, do you want to formally start cultivating the family's samurai?" Yuta asked in surprise. Ryu Fujikai nodded, raised his head slightly, looked at the night sky of Konoha, with vigilance and coldness in his eyes. "Even though our aim is to truly integrate into Konoha, that is also the future. If we want our samurai family to gain a real foothold in this village of ninjas, we must have strength worthy of respect and prudence from others. I don't want to have to endure and use surveillance after we move in after the family's family land is officially completed." In the following period of time, Ryu Fujikai's life became more regular. During the day, besides studying at the ninja school, I practice the sword skills inherited in the family, and on the basis of the family sword skills, I make certain developments according to my own understanding and ideas. And under Ryu Fujikai's continuous strategy, although Kushina would still blushed and screamed and hammered him every time Ryu Fujikai said something embarrassing. But for the relationship between the two, especially Ryu Fujikai's hand-holding action at times, it is no longer a struggle. It was a tacit agreement between the two of them. 3 months passed in a flash. The news of the battle situation in the Land of Rain came back, but Ryu Fujikai didn't care about it at all. Today, the ninja school is on holiday, and Ryu Fujikai came to his clan land on the edge of the Death Forest early in the morning. "The head of the family is here." As soon as Ryu Fujikai appeared, a fierce-faced warrior of the Dragon Vine family with a samurai sword pinned to his waist and wearing a jet-black samurai uniform separated on both sides of the clan gate. Bowing and saluting loudly, at that scene, Lu Jiu, who came to congratulate him at the request of his parents, was stunned. They haven't seen the samurai family before, but at this moment in their hearts, they can't help but associate the samurai with black. He rolled his eyes at Yoshio Otsuka, the former hired samurai leader of the family headed by him. Ever since this guy got to know Yuta and the others, and received the secret support of Ryu Fujikai, his strength has improved by leaps and bounds, and he is about to break through the level of high-level samurai, surpassing Knin at the same level. Immediately, he approached Ryu Fujikai in person, and expressed his willingness to accept the family's poison control. From now on, as a dead man of the family, he only hopes to get the secret support of the family with Yuta and the others. Naturally, Ryu Fujikai had no intention of refusing. The Death Forest is already on the periphery of Konoha, and the land here is not as precious as the inside of the village. In addition, in order to win over the Longteng family, Konoha granted the Longteng family a large area of land. Now that it has been built, the scale of the entire clan is definitely the standard of the Konoha clan. Skyoei, show, your family's family land is more than 3 times larger than ours. The one who spoke was Inuzuka Cho from the Inuzuka clan and Ryu Fujikai's class. At the moment, the little girl is also pretty, with wild oil paint on her face. Lu Jiu, who was following behind, sighed after hearing the words, "Is it necessary to compare like this? The clan of your Inuzuka clan is also ranked first in Konoha. If you compare it like this, isn't our Nara clan the most pitiful?" Ryu Fujikai listened to their words with a faint smile on his lips. After several months of getting along, they got along pretty well. Today, the clan land of the Longteng family has just been built, and the clan has moved, so they have already come to congratulate. The future heirs of several ninjas in the same class have almost arrived, but Ryu Fujikai did not see the arrival of that touch of red. Chapter 16 Hokage visits the door. Ryu Fujikai's clear strategy. Perhaps it is because the patriarchs of the major Konoha shinobi clans do not pay much attention to the Ryuto family, which is a samurai family, or the purpose is to let Shikageyu and Ryu Fujikai's peers come forward to avoid embarrassment in some matters. Anyway, looking at the bustling scene in a living room at the moment, Ryu Fujikai is quite satisfied with their visit. "Are you thinking about Kushina? I heard she said that she will be late today, maybe it will be night, he. Inuzuka's Yuo looked at Ryu Fujikai's silent look, and leaned over with a weird smile on his face, which attracted Ryu Fujikai's eyes. Everyone was playing for a while, but Shikageyu, who was sitting next to Ryu Fujikai, suddenly asked, "Kari, do you really plan to become a ninja in the future?" The living room suddenly fell silent, and everyone looked at Ryu Fujikai. It seemed that they were still very concerned about Ryu Fujikai's pursuit. Ryu Fujikai didn't mean to shy away, nodded directly, and spread his hands with a smile. "My chakra has no attributes, and I can't release the escapism. In addition to the inheritance of the Dragon Vine family, I rely on me alone. All factors show that I am not suitable to be called a ninja. Compared to being called a ninja, I want to develop my Dragon Vine Samurai Dojo." Everyone nodded, but Lu Jiu became thoughtful. "If this is the case, becoming a samurai is indeed your best choice. Sai, I thought we could become comrades in arms in the future." Lu Jiu shook his head helplessly, but he did not force Ryu Fujikai. After all, Ryu Fujikai's reason is very good. The family is only one seedling, and the ninjutsu that he can learn is really limited, so he became a ninja, especially during World War II. Any fool knows how to choose. Ryu Fujikai looked at the expressions of everyone, but asked, "What's the situation on the front line of the village recently?" Yamanaka, who was sitting on the side with his chest folded, shook his head. "The hands of the salamander in Rain Shinobi village is not easy to deal with. I heard from my father that he not only uses poison as a grandmaster, but also is good at taijutsu and ninjutsu. There is no small attainment in it. Plus both Tsunagakure and Iwagakure have increased their troops on the front line recently. Master Tsunade is under a lot of pressure." Lu Jiu on the side took over the conversation, and said quietly, "Our group of ninja school students are very likely to face early graduation." Ryu Fujikai nodded, and was about to say something when suddenly Ryuto Yuta walked in with a serious look on his face. "Master Patriarch, Lord Hokage is here to visit." As soon as this remark came out, everyone in the living room was stunned on the spot. Even Ryu Fujikai did not expect that Sarutabi Hiruzen, who definitely had a lot of things during the war, would come here when the Ryuto family moved. However, when Ryu Fujikai rushed to the door with the crowd to greet him, and saw the people beside Sarutabi Hiruzen, he suddenly realized again. "Master Hokage, Master Uzumaki, I didn't expect that my family's housewarming would alarm the two of you. Please forgive me for being negligent. It really is just like what little Kushina said, he is indeed a very polite boy. Uzumaki Maito looked Ryu Fujikrai up and down with a smile, and beside her, Uzumaki Kushina blushed and turned her head away. Shikageyu and the others behind Ryu Fujikrai were all surprised and hastily followed to salute. At the same time, my heart was full of surprise. This first generation's wife, who has always been a reclusive person, why did she come today? Could it be that they came to congratulate the housewarming like them? Uzumaki Maito, as the wife of first Hokage Senju Hashirama, is naturally well known in the ninja world. The clansmen behind Ryu Fujikrai all showed surprised expressions. Sarutabi Hiruzen also showed a faint smile when he saw Shikageyu and others behind Ryu Fujikrai at this moment. It looks like a class reunion is going on. Our arrival is a bit abrupt. One sentence directly attracted Lu Jiu, who was in charge of IQ, and waved his hands hastily, not even daring to say it. Welcoming everyone into the clan land, Uzumaki Maito was also looking at the clan land of the Ryuto family while heading to Ryu Fujikrai, the patriarch's residence along the way. The carved beams and painted buildings, except for some places that are obviously used for gardens, are still vacant and waiting to be taken care of in the future, such as the imported clan river, various houses, and even the venues needed for warrior training. It's no wonder that it is a top warrior family that has been passed down for 100 years. The family is well off, and the girl Kushina will enjoy some blessings in the future. Ryu Fujikrai didn't dare to say anything nonsense at the moment, he could only laugh along with him. But fortunately, the other party obviously didn't have any malicious intentions. After everyone entered the living room, the atmosphere was obviously not as active as before. After getting someone to serve tea, Sarutabi Hiruzen simply asked about the recent situation of the Ryuto family in Konoha, exchanged a few words, and then talked about his purpose this time. Patriarch Longteng, I heard people say that you don't intend to become a ninja, do you? Ryu Fujikrai nodded. Yes, my dragon and vine family has always pursued the goal of pursuing the highest level of samurai. In addition, I am indeed not suitable to be a ninja. From now on, I just want to develop my family in Konoha with peace of mind. Sarutabi Hiruzen nodded. I see, since this is your decision, even as Hokage, I can't force you to do something you don't want. However, the creation of ninja tools. Ryu Fujikrai interrupted directly, Master Hokage, don't worry, since my Ryuto family has agreed to this aspect, I will not do anything that humiliates the lintel. We will still be responsible for the management of the ninja tool production department in the village. Sarutabi Hiruzen nodded, however, before he could say anything, Ryu Fujikrai spoke again this time. He said something that stunned everyone present. But since Master Hokage is here, I actually have something to tell you. Ryu Fujikrai looked more solemn than ever. I, Dragon Vine Clan, have found the fourth summoning holy land, and have signed a summoning contract with it. Chapter 17 bundled with the interests of the Konoha tribes, the fourth holy land Longming Realm I, Dragon Vine Clan, have found the fourth summoning holy land, and have signed a summoning contract with it. Sarutabi Hiruzen, Uzumaki Maito. As soon as these words came out, the scene was dead silent for a while. Even Sarutabi Hiruzen didn't react from Ryu Fujikrai's words for a while. The fourth summoning holy land. Yes, but I heard from my father that there are only 3 summoning holy lands in the ninja world. The confusion on Inuzukazume's face broke the silence. Facing the eyes of everyone, Ryu Fujikrai nodded. It was true before that, the Katsuyu of the Shikan Forest, the snake of the Raikai Cave, and the toad of Mount Mibaku, but recently I got the fourth largest summoning holy land, which I call the Longming Realm. And the summoning beasts living in it are all kinds of dragon monsters. Uzumaki Maito, who originally just wanted to see the boy Ryufuji cry that Kushina said today, did not expect that he just heard this huge news today. Sarutabi Hiruzen didn't speak, still digesting the information in Ryufujikai's words, or rather, he didn't believe it. What is Longming World? What is the fourth summoning holy land? With his knowledge of ninjutsu, Dr. Sarutabi Hiruzen, he has never heard of such a place in the ninja world. However, Ryufujikai didn't expect the other party to just take his word for it. Under the gaze of everyone, he came to the small courtyard outside the living room, and then made a seal in his hand, and slapped the ground with his palm. Summoning technique, Crown Dragon. As a burst of smoke exploded, a blue-colored monster with a huge and seemingly hard head appeared in everyone's sight. The aura emanating from the opponent's body already has the level of Gnin. Sarutabi Hiruzen's pupils shrank, and the natural energy radiating from the Crestosaurus made him believe most of Ryufujikai's information almost instantly. As he who also owns the summoning beast, he is no stranger to the existence of natural energy, and even he has never thought about learning the Sage Mode for the purpose of first generation. It's a pity that the ape demons don't have the word Sage Mode, and the world where the ape demons live, the rich level of natural energy itself can't meet the requirements of Sage Mode. And only the summoning world that meets the conditions for the existence of Sage Mode can be called a holy place. The place called Longming Realm in Ryufujikai's mouth definitely has this condition. Unlike Sarutabi Hiruzen, who knows more about the summoning holy land, the students of Ryufujikai's ninja school all exclaimed immediately after seeing the adult crest dragon that was brought out by summoning. Dingzuo didn't even notice that the dim sum plate he was holding fell to the ground. At this moment, Inuzukazuo was looking at the huge 3 to 4 meter tall Coronatosaurus, with a scorching light in his eyes, staring fixedly at the thick teeth of the Coronatosaurus. Obviously, this girl who played with dogs was conquered by the ferocious image of Coriolosaurus. Staring at Sarutabi Hiruzen, Ryufujikai introduced. This is a kind of summoning beast that our family has signed a contract with. It's called Crown Tulong. It can be regarded as the existence of the Bottom Dragon family in the Longming realm. The Bottom Dragon clan. The horror on the faces of the people was even stronger. They were all from the ninja clan, so their eyesight was naturally not bad. Although the guy in front of him hasn't really made a move yet, he doesn't know how powerful the opponent is or how he fights. However, the power exuding from his body is definitely at the Knin level. Just this, or the bottomest existence. Sarutabi Hiruzen stood up, walked to the side of the crown dragon, looked around the other side twice, and nodded. It is indeed a summoning beast that has never appeared in the ninja world. Looking at Ryufujikai, Sarutabi Hiruzen was caught off guard by today's events. So, is there any purpose for Patriarch Longteng to share this secret with the old man today? With a thought of Ryufujikai's mind, Crescolosaurus turned into a cloud of white smoke and returned to the world of monster hunting. He clapped his hands, called Ryuta over, and whispered a few words in the other's ear. After the other party left, Ryufujikai sat in the living room again and said seriously. As I said just now, my Longteng family will continue to follow the development path of the samurai family in the future, but Mr. Hokage is also aware of the current situation of the samurai. According to the previous method, the samurai cannot become stronger. Fortunately, thanks to our ancestors, we have been recognized by the Longming world. Ryu Fujikrai stared at Sarutabi Hiruzen. He took a lot of risk in today's behavior. But for the rapid development of the family and a firm foothold in Konoha, this is the best choice. I would like to cooperate with Konoha village and the various ethnic groups in the village regarding the development of the rare products produced in the Longming world. While talking, Ryuto Yuta took a few warriors and carried a few trays into the living room, and placed the things in front of everyone one by one. In front of Sarutabi Hiruzen, Ryu Fujikrai opened a long wooden box, revealing what was inside, a samurai sword with a sheath. Clang! Pulling out the long knife did not move Sarutabi Hiruzen in the slightest, but after seeing the energy fluctuations emanating from the knife, the corners of Sarutabi Hiruzen's eyes twitched unconsciously. Ryu Fujikrai said, "Master Hokage, you must have noticed that this is a chakra weapon, but this weapon is much stronger than most weapons in the current ninja world in terms of chakra transmission." As he spoke, he directly handed the knife to the other party. Sarutabi Hiruzen took over the samurai sword. As a member of the personal guard of the second generation, Sarutabi Hiruzen has experienced many wars. As soon as he got the long sword, he immediately felt the extraordinariness of this sword. Ryu Fujikrai smiled slightly. The knives crafted by my Longteng clan, together with some special ores obtained from Longming realm, this knife was born. Chapter 18 Qualified young patriarch facing the real samurai sword in his hand, Sarutabi Hiruzen couldn't doubt the existence of the Longming realm in Ryu Fujikrai's mouth. However, Ryu Fujikrai clearly has more cards than that. He looked at Narashiju, pushed a beautiful small jar in front of her, and opened it directly. Immediately, a scent of honey wafted in the living room, and there was a faint scent of medicine in the scent. Narashikahisa looked at Ryu Fujikrai in shock as if he had realized something. Sure enough, Ryu Fujikrai said the next moment. "This is the doctor in our clan, using the honey we collected from the Longming realm, plus some healing and conditioning medicinal materials, the medicinal honey is prepared. Although it is only a preliminary preparation, it already has a good healing effect. The most important thing is to be able to heal dark wounds to a certain extent." As soon as these words came out, Sarutabi Hiruzen, who was still feeling the chakra samurai sword in his hand, immediately looked over. Before Lu Jiu could say anything, he had already pulled the jar in front of him, smelled it, and judging by his knowledge, there was nothing wrong with it. Then he directly scooped out some medicinal honey and put it in his mouth. Sarutabi Hiruzen only felt the moment when the medicinal honey entered the mouth, it immediately spread in the mouth, and a warm current began to flow quickly around the body, and wherever it passed, it was like experiencing a massage. Very comfortable. Suddenly, his fingers that were still stained with some medicinal honey trembled, his eyes widened, and he felt a certain position in his body in disbelief. As expected, the stinging pain of a dark wound from a battle when he was young has slightly weakened, and the process is still going on. Sarutabi Hiruzen swallowed his saliva, took a deep breath, and looked at Ryu Fujikrai with unprecedented seriousness. Ryu Fujikrai sitting in front of him at this moment, in his eyes, is no longer just the patriarch of the Ryuto family, but Konoha's hope of winning World War II. However, after all, it is the current shinobi. Sarutabi Hiruzen took a deep breath, quickly calmed down the shock in his heart, and looked at the other small boxes. Ryu Fujikrai didn't talk nonsense, and directly opened another box, revealing a ready-made barbecue steak inside. When the box was opened, the aroma stimulated everyone present, and their saliva was secreted quickly. Especially Akamichi Dingza, who likes to eat the most, has no image at the moment. Maybe he has never had any image. At this moment, the saliva is already dripping out. Uzumaki Maito looked at the grilled meat that was cut and placed in front of him, and asked curiously, could it be the meat of the summoning beast? Can you kill the summoning beast in the Holy Land? Ryu Fujikai smiled slightly. This is indeed the meat of the summoning beast, but it is the bottom dragon of the food chain in the Longming world, a kind of herbivorous dragon meat. There are a lot of herbivorous dragons in the Longming world. It is the food of other dragons in that world. It is huge in size, but its aggressiveness is much lower than that of the Crestosaurus I was summoning just now. As for the effect of their meat, you may wish to taste it yourself. Sarutabi Hiruzen picked up a piece of grilled meat and looked at it first. Apart from the better color, it seemed to be no different from ordinary meat. However, just after the barbecue was eaten by him, within a few breaths, Sarutabi Hiruzen couldn't help being moved again. It actually strengthens chakra, and seems to increase physical strength as well. At this moment, Sarutabi Hiruzen looked deeply at Ryu Fujikai, and finally sighed. No wonder you are so confident when you say you want to lead the warriors to become stronger again. Although a samurai cannot perform ninjutsu such as 5 elements escape technique, he can learn ninjutsu such as 3-body technique. If he eats this kind of dragon meat for a long time, his body can be strengthened forever, and he will become a transcendent ninja existence and become a ninja. It's not empty talk. Ryu Fujikai smiled and bowed his body, without any arrogance or complacency on his face. Reaching out to open a box again, this time he pushed the box in front of Aburam Jiwaya. He hardly spoke, but after seeing the contents in the box, he lay down on the ground excitedly. He bent down and looked at it, as if he saw some rare treasure. Ryu Fujikai looked at each other with a bold smile. Inside the box was a bug the size of a thumbnail. The whole body is golden in color, vaguely seems to be shrouded in electric light. This is the lightning bug, which can release the power of lightning. Although it is not very powerful, if the Aburam family cultivates it and forms a large scale, it will definitely greatly improve the combat effectiveness of the Aburam family. Now, Inuzuka Claw couldn't help but look at this taciturn partner enviously, and said in a sour tone. Longteng-kun is really cunning, Jiwaya didn't let him go. Ryu Fujikai smiled slightly, and stared at Sarutabi Hiruzen in front of him. At this moment, the identities of the two were Konoha Hokage, and the other was the head of the Ryuto family with super high value. Ryu Fujikai, Master Hokage, I have only been here in Konoha for a few months. If I say something like I love the village, no one will believe me. So, compared to this, I am more willing to say that Konoha is the best partner for my Longteng family to revitalize the family. My Longteng family is willing to support all decisions made by Konoha without harming my own interests. I don't know, Master Hokage, what do you mean? Sarutabi Hiruzen was silent for a while, even as Uzumaki Maito, even though Kushina beside her was carefully pulling the corner of her clothes, trying to get her to speak out to help Ryu Fujikai, she didn't speak. However, looking at Ryu Fujikai, it was more than just satisfaction. At a young age, he knows how to assess the situation and can keep calm in the face of huge interests. Although it is not clear how far the opponent's future strength can grow, but this character definitely will be a qualified homeowner. It is indeed a good choice to entrust Kushina to the other party. Finally, under the gaze of everyone, Sarutabi Hiruzen took a deep breath and asked. So, Patriarch Longteng, how do you want to cooperate with Konoha? Chapter 19 The Golden Body of the Dragon Vine Family. So, Patriarch Longteng, how do you want to cooperate with Konoha? As Sarutobi Hiruzen asked the question, Ryu Fujikrai knew he had made the right bet. Sarutobi Hiruzen in this period is still worthy of the title of ninja hero. Although it is a bit risky to face such a situation, success means that Konoha has achieved an opportunity to take off, and he chose to seize it without hesitation. Ryu Fujikrai smiled slightly and expressed his vision. That night when Hatake Sakumo came to Hokage's office with something urgent, Sarutobi Hiruzen, who was almost a role model, was not here. That night, Sarutobi Hiruzen left beautifully after having a dragon meat feast at the Longteng family's land. Also leaving together are Uzumaki Mito and others who are also delicious. Holding a jar of medicinal honey in his arms, Lu Jiu looked solemnly at Ryu Fujikrai, who was sending him off at the door. Don't worry, my father will definitely agree to your proposal, and, thank you. Ryu Fujikrai smiled slightly upon hearing this. The next day, early in the morning, the patriarchs of the major ninja clans in Konoha village received Hokage's summoning order one after another. But when these people came one after another, Sarutobi Hiruzen didn't say anything, but led them towards the Death Forest, the land of the Longteng family. Along the way, the Hyuga family, the Uchiha family, and a few patriarchs who had not received any news yesterday were puzzled. Rather, it looks like Konohana, Akamichi, Yamanaka, Aburam and Inuzuka's family patriarchs, but there is an uncontrollable smile on the corner of their mouths. When everyone came to the Dragon Vine clan, they found that the Dragon Vine clan seemed to have expected their arrival long ago. At this moment, the young head of the house, like Ryu Fujikrai, was already wearing expensive robes, a pair of old-fashioned clothes, and 2 lines of elite warriors, waiting at the door. Welcome their arrival. Master Hokage, all patriarchs, welcome to our Dragon Vine clan as guests. Refreshments have been prepared inside, please come inside. Seeing puzzled looks, Sarutobi Hiruzen greeted everyone with a smile to enter the Dragon Vine clan, and soon came to a prepared meeting hall. Sarutobi Hiruzen, who was walking in front, pulled Ryu Fujikrai in front of him and whispered, "Little guy, I brought it to you. They will never refuse the cooperation you proposed, but how much meat you can keep is up to you." Ryu Fujikrai smiled and nodded. "Thank you Hokage-sama, I have already arranged for the share of the Sarutobi clan, and I promise to satisfy you." Sarutobi Hiruzen smiled without saying a word, and then did not sit on the main seat, but sat casually on a seat on the side, and at the same time signaled the chiefs of various clans to sit down. Nara and other patriarchs who already knew what happened today quickly sat down in several places around the main seat, and the other ninja patriarchs who watched looked at each other in blank dismay. Everyone was seated, and Ryu Fujikrai was also sitting on the main seat, but he didn't speak, which made everyone present puzzled. "Everyone, wait a moment, there are still a few people I invited who have not come." While speaking, Yuta's report came from outside the meeting hall. "Master Patriarch, 3 Senju old gentlemen are here." Hearing this address, everyone present was taken aback for a moment, and then they saw 3 old men with grey hair and signs of aging on their faces, walking in with crutches. Ryu Fujikrai immediately asked them to help them to several specially arranged positions. Seeing this scene, Sarutobi Hiruzen, who didn't know it beforehand, couldn't help but take a deep look at the little boy on the main seat. The 3 old Mr. Senju actually don't have the surname Senju anymore. With the death of the 2nd generation, the Senju family has already gone out on missions again and again, and their talents have withered and there are no successors. The rest of these people have changed their names and surnames, and they have integrated into Konoha in another way. However, it was unexpected that the Senju clan, who obviously had no strength to speak of, was also invited by Ryu Fujikai to discuss major cooperation matters. Sarutabi Hiruzen's evaluation of Ryu Fujikai is even higher. Although they are willing to pay immediate benefits, they have long-term plans. After all, the Senju clan is one of the super ninja clans that once founded the Konoha clan. Ryu Fujikai invited them here today, and he didn't need to give much benefit to the declining Senju clan, but he was able to show a very good manner of emphasizing righteousness and affection. Seeing everyone coming together, Ryu Fujikai clapped his hands. He didn't waste any time in exchanging greetings, and immediately sent the prepared documents to the heads of the various tribes one by one. Everyone who was wondering what was the purpose of Hokage calling them here today with great fanfare, their eyes widened immediately after seeing the contents of the documents in their hands. This can't be true. The fourth summoning Holy Land. Longming Realm, I have never heard of it. Everyone flipped through the documents in their hands, intending to question them, but seeing Sarutabi Hiruzen, who was standing beside him, swallowed these doubts back to his stomach. And when they saw the cooperation project proposed by Ryu Fujikai, several ninja patriarchs who lacked concentration stood up in shock. Can enhance Chakra's flesh. A healing potion that restores dark wounds. A more advanced chakra weapon. Everything on the document seemed to be teasing their nerves. As the leader of the Konoha ninja clan, the Uchiha Patriarch is now on the front line of the Rain Country, fighting with Sand Shinobi and the others with Tsunade. Today, the representative of the Uchiha clan is the Uchiha Great Elder. He frowned and looked at Ryu Fujikai in the main seat. Does Patriarch Longteng want to cooperate with us to start these businesses? Chapter 20 To be Konoha's Chaebol. Those present, the chiefs of the major ninja tribes who didn't know the purpose of coming here today, all looked at the documents in their hands. The names of the items above, as well as the dragon meat and medicinal honey mentioned in it, made them feel very confused. The head of the Nara clan looked at the document in his hand. Longteng Meat Industry Cooperation Project Book, Longteng Pharmaceutical Industry Cooperation Project Book, Longteng Weapons Company Cooperation Project Book. The Nara family opened up the project that they are most interested in, and they thought about last night, and want to participate in it vigorously. Dragon Vine Pharmaceuticals. In the project book, Ryu Fujikai narrated very clearly that some people from the Longteng family were responsible for the collection of Chinese herbal medicines in the Longming realm, and a medicinal garden was divided in the Death Forest to be responsible for the special herbal medicines in the Longming realm. The collaborators need to be responsible for funding the construction of factories, researching and sharing the researched prescription technology with the Longteng family. As for the subsequent chain pharmacies and possible cooperation projects with Konoha Shinobi Hospital, it can be said that from this document alone, it can be seen that this is definitely a large-scale cooperation project that can support a ninja village. Not only the value of the things it researches, but also the huge benefits behind it. As for the patriarch of the Akamichi clan on the side, he was staring at the project book of Longteng Meat Industry in his hand, and was very interested in the above projects such as chain barbecue restaurants. The Akamichi family now has a related industry in Konoha village, but the scale is not large, but the stalls have already been spread out. If they can successfully join this project, they will definitely have a lot of advantages. In short, just as the question of the great elder Uchiha was asked, the aura of the several family patriarchs sitting closest to Ryu Fujikai's starting position has changed. As they looked at each other, there were faint sparks colliding. Seeing that the heat was almost ready, Ryu Fujikrai put down the teacup in his hand and said with a smile. Just like what old Mr. Uchiha meant, my Dragon Vine family has now been recognized by the Fourth Summoning Holy Land, Longming Realm, but now that I have joined Konoha, whether it is for the samurai family to develop more rapidly in the future, or I want to for mutual benefit, I have decided to cooperate with the patriarchs. Of course, whether to cooperate or not is entirely up to voluntary. As a century-old warrior family, my Longteng family doesn't like to make things difficult for others. If you don't like it, you can leave on your own. Ryu Fujikrai's tone was filled with the indifference of sitting firmly on the Diaoyutai, but just as he finished speaking, the patriarch of the Inoshika family beside Konoha spoke decisively. Minoru family is very interested in this cooperation. My Akamichi family is also willing to cooperate. The Yamanaka family is also willing to participate. The reaction of the three patriarchs was a bit big, but facing the eyes of everyone, the patriarchs of the three families not only did not feel the slightest embarrassment, but also looked at Ryu Fujikrai and continued to express their views sincerely. Patriarch Longteng, you know the scale of our Nara family's medicinal material industry in Konoha village. This project of Longteng pharmaceutical industry is most suitable for cooperation with my Nara family. The patriarch of the Nara clan in Pineapple Head said, even with honorifics when speaking. This more or less makes some other people who have not experienced the magic of the Longteng family feel a little confused. Ulysses smiled and waved his hands, signaling the three patriarchs not to worry, and winked at Yuta who was standing by, and soon the latter greeted the people who had already prepared, and walked in. A tray with boxes and bottles and jars was placed in front of everyone. Ryu Fujikrai smiled and stretched out his hand as a gesture of please. These are what I said in the document. The products we are going to cooperate with in the project, you might as well give it a try first. In addition to families such as Hyuga, Uchiha and Inoshika, there were also some small ninja families such as the Moonlight family and the Mitarashi family. At first they looked at the things in front of them and hesitated, but when they saw that the third Hokage Sarutabi Hiruzen, who had been silent beside Ryu Fujikrai, had already started to taste a bowl of steaming broth, they stopped hesitating and moved their chopsticks one after another. Oh, Patriarch Longteng, I didn't expect this broth to have such a miraculous effect. Old man, I feel comfortable all over now, as if soaking in a hot spring. Sarutabi Hiruzen took a sip of the soup, sighed sincerely, looked at Ryu Fujikrai with a faint light in his eyes, and didn't know what he was thinking in his heart. Ryu Fujikrai smiled slightly. They were all made of ingredients from small monsters like herbivorous dragons. Ryu Fujikrai didn't feel any distress at all. Using these things that he doesn't like, win over the major families of Konoha, so that the Longteng family can take root in Konoha. And given him time, Ryu Fujikrai believed that those boss-level monsters and the things on them would definitely have more terrifying effects. This is keel soup. The chefs in the clan have been groping for a long time recently and added some nourishing medicinal materials. It is very effective for the recovery of the elderly and patients. Of course, as Master Hokage said, drinking a bowl of keel soup can also relieve fatigue when people who have worked for a long time are tired. Hokage-sama has worked a lot for Konoha. You can eat more of this kind of thing in the future, so that you can better shine and heat Konoha. Ryu Fujikrai's seemingly sincere words made Sarutabi Hiruzen's eyes more satisfied. Thinking of Ryu Fujikrai's sincere words last night, he didn't talk about the sense of belonging to the village, but only about the continuation of family interests. In connection with the current practice, Sarutabi Hiruzen also couldn't help but recognize the existence of the Ryuto family in Konoha in his heart. Sense of belonging. People expect people to have a sense of belonging when they first come here. This is indeed too strong and difficult for others. And Ryu Fujikai's willingness to bundle interests with them has fully demonstrated the sincerity of their family. For this reason, Sarutabi Hiruzen suddenly made a decision in his mind. And at this moment, the patriarchs of various clans who had personally experienced the miraculous things in front of them were also shocked, or exclaimed, or sighed. Among the different reactions, everyone's eyes burst out with hot flames. How could these people not understand that inviting them to join these projects proposed by the Longteng family is no different from giving them money? Sure enough, Patriarch Hyuga, who originally had a dignified attitude and a calm expression, was the first to ask. The head of the Ryuto family, the Hyuga family, hope to join the cooperation of these projects. Whether it's money, people, or anything else, please be sure to include my Hyuga family. Others reacted similarly, looking at Ryu Fujikai eagerly and expectantly. Ryu Fujikai smiled slightly. Integrating into Konoha and becoming the head of the chaebol is the first step. Success,